Sanye Joda Zoge Chonam Na Chanju Bardo Dane Yasuj Tage Jinso Jemen Sonam Dola Benjir Sanye Dubarisho Sanye Joda Zoge Chonam Chanju Bardo Dane Yasuj Tage Jinso Jebe Sonam Ge Dola Benjire Sanje Dubarisho Sanje Joda Soge Chonam Chanjo Bardo Dane Jaso Che Tage Jinso Jebe Sonam Dola Benjire Sanje Dubarisho. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha. By my accumulations of the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha. By my accumulations of the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha. By my accumulations of the practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. Okay, page 5. Page 5. We will say this on the second para. In Tibetan it reads Semar Gyurba Dola Pensheba Tumba Dishi Gyurba Chazelo. And the English translation, the one who has transformed into a reliable guide. So this we're going to say 3 times. Finally, what we're going to study, this Pramanavartika chapter 2, is all about these 2 lines. In Tibetan, Semar Gyurba Dola Pensheba Tumba Dishi Gyurba Chazelo. I'm going to explain to you how this all came into being. And His Holiness the Dalai Lama, during his public teachings, he oftentimes recites, also cites these 2 lines, Semar Gyurba Dola Pensheba Tumba Dishi Gyurba Chazelo, or Chazel Ne. So and I remember, I think 2013, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, when he was in Delhi, early morning, one morning, the secretary of His Holiness from the hotel called me one very early morning and said that His Holiness wants you at the hotel. So I quickly dashed to the hotel, and it was early morning. So then His Holiness gave whole, the advice on how to run Tibet House, the purpose, and so forth. And alongside, he mentioned this with great emphasis. Just again, he cited these 2 lines. These 2 lines he cited, and just I could feel that the whole practice of His Holiness is designed on these 2 lines. So these 2 are so precious. These 2 lines are so precious. We're going to say the Tibetan and the English together 3 times. And the meanings. And these 2 lines, we're going to study the next 7 days. And next meaning, including today. And in the monastic universities, they study for like whole 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years with the ground, the ground of knowledge and expertise in logic, psychology, and the philosophy, and so forth. Okay, so we can do, this is the whole thing. We'll say this together. Tsemara Yoruba Dola Pensheba Tumba Deshe Kyobla Chaselo, the one who has transformed into the reliable guide, motivated by altruism to benefit sentient beings, the teacher, Sugata, and protector, to you I make prostrations. Semara Yoruba Dola Pensheba Tumba Deshe Kyobla Chaselo, the one who has transformed into the reliable guide, motivated by altruism to benefit sentient beings, the teacher, Sugata, and protector, to you are my prostrations. Okay, I'll quickly correlate the 2 things, the Tibetan and English, so that when you read the Tibetan, it makes sense to you. And then, or maybe later on, you can recite both And as you recite, the meanings are reflected even when reciting the Tibetan. Tsema, the first word, tsemar, tsema. Tsema is the original word, and the R is added. R is added as a linking the letter. Tsema. Tsema is the valid, reliable one, the valid cognition. It has many connotations. It can refer to the valid cognition, valid one, reliable one. Tsema. Gyurpa is transformed, become. Gyurpa is transformed and become. Both are correct. Tsema Gyurpa. Dro is the migrators, sentient beings. Migrators or the sentient beings. Do. La is two or four. La is two or four. Tsema Gyurpa Do La. Pen. Pen is benefit. Shepa is aspired to benefit. Okay. So we read the first line in English, the one who has transformed into the reliable guide. This is Tsema. Reliable guide is Tsema. Motivated by altruism. Dola, altruism to benefit sentient beings. Sentient beings is do. Benefit is pen. Altruism, this is the complete meaning, is altruism. Altruism, penshepa. Tunba, the next line. Tunba is the teacher. Tunba, teacher. Deshik is the Sugata. Sugata meaning the one who has gone to the perfect bliss. The one who has gone to the perfect bliss of purity. Perfect bliss, Sugata. Deshik. Kyop is protector. La is two. Chaksel is prostrate, make prostrate. Lo is at the ending word. The ending word, chaksel, end with the L. So it chaksel, the word is chaksel. What is the last letter? Chaksel, L. So when it is ends with L, then the whole sentence is concluded by lo. If the end is na, the whole sentence will be completed by no. Right? And if the end is ma, whole sentence will be completed by mo. Lo is just the conclusion of so this is the completion of the sentence. This is the connotation. Chatsel lo. Okay. So with this, just a cursory meaning, very cursory, the surface meaning for the time being. And to know this, we have to know the whole two big volumes, right? Okay, so at least the surface meaning when you read it, that it makes some sense to us. That will be helpful. Let's see this once more. Tsemara Yoruba Dola Penje Ba Temba Deshe Gyobla Chase Lo. The one who has transformed into the reliable guide, motivated by altruism to benefit sentient beings. The teacher, Sugata and protector, to you I make prostrations. Okay. So this, from today till 12th, in a way, I personally feel so fortunate that we are doing this course together. And no doubt, all of us came all the way from your respective places. Some flew from America, some flew from Australia, and some from Singapore, some from Malaysia, drove all the way here, and anyone else? Yes, from there. Wang Denla story is a very long story with me. Wang Denla, his wife, I know her since she was just graduated high school. Since then, it has been like 13 years that I didn't know her. And 13 years we did not meet. And last last month, I think. We met after 13 years. Okay, so this is how I came to know Vandana. Okay, so this is extremely precious text. Meanwhile, it requires a tremendous merit. It's not easy. Tremendous merit, first of all, to come in contact with this. And then in the middle, beginning, to come in contact with this. In the middle, not to feel lost. Not to feel lost. Oh no, it's not really for me. It's very complicated. Okay. Then in the end, that you find the meaning. Wow, it's so precious. So this is, now I've seen the roadmap of my life. The roadmap of my whole, the spirituality of my life, the Dharma practice of my life. You will see this as a roadmap. So in the beginning, to come in contact with this is so fortunate. So we have already transcended that hurdle, moved that hurdle. Now the second phase we're going through is that, okay, I'm not lucky, I'm not lost. At least I'm getting something. Okay, this should happen. And then finally, towards the end of this course, that we feel that, okay, now I've seen the roadmap, I have to see it more clearly. For that matter, I have to study it the more in depth. Okay, this is what is intended. So with this, finally, I keep in mind that each one of us, we have the capacity to know who we are, to know your real potential. It's not that we always have to depend on somebody. So this text is a very thorough text to make us discover who you are, on the basis of which you gain such a confidence that, okay, this is who I am. I have this potential. I have the Buddha nature within me. And I can activate it through these means, and thus eradicating the mental defilements. And then I become the reliable guide myself. Okay, this idea. So for that matter, let us not begin with any esoteric concepts, like, oh, with this I may get something. Don't begin from there. Begin from two questions. What do you want? Begin with one question, with two answers. What do you want? Just start from there. What do you want? Okay, so with this question, what do you want? Some of you may say that, okay, I want to study Dharma, I want to practice Dharma. Some people not here, maybe outside, they may say that, many people may say that I want promotion in my job. I want to run my business successfully. I want to have a harmony in my family. And I want political power, political influence, and so forth. So, okay, my family, my child is a problem, the husband is a problem, the wife has a problem. So I wish that these problems are over. We have so many aspirations. And all these aspirations we can boil down to two. That the fears and the unhappiness, the fear and the anxiety, stress, I don't want that. This is one. Number two, I want the peace of mind. I want the ease of my mind. I want the happiness. Two, I don't want suffering, I want happiness. Everything can be boiled down to these two. This is a fact. This is how we have to start from the scratch, from the reality. Always have a sound foundation. That what I'm doing, okay, going to seek empowerment, or going for a course, or going for a lecture, or going for a movie, whatever we do, there must be a purpose. And the purpose can be immediate purpose and a long-term purpose. So long-term purpose, ask yourself, who am I on this earth? What am I doing on this earth? What am I expecting from this earth? What am I looking for? So with this question, okay, this is just what I start, and each one of us, we go back to our respective places after this course, and then ask this question once more. What's the meaning of my life? What am I really looking for? What am I doing? What I want? Ask this question. And believe it or not, whatever answers that you give, whatever answers other people give, will all boil down to this: I don't want suffering, I want the happiness. The next question. What degree of happiness do you want? What degree of suffering do you want to get rid of? This next question. If possible, 100% suffering get rid of, meaning 0% of suffering, and maximum happiness is what I'm seeking. This is answer. Then the question is whether or not this is possible. Whether or not the infinite happiness and the least suffering, zero suffering, is possible. This is the question. So we need to have a sense of courage and the audacity to ask these questions, whether or not these are possible. Don't just come to a rash conclusion that no, this is not possible. Don't come to rash conclusion. Don't come to rash conclusion to say yes, it is possible. If you seek this, there's no harm in seeking, but we also should ask whether or not this is possible. For that, only through very sensible, systematic studies will come to get the answer. Otherwise we'll not get the answer simply by saying, yes, it's possible, no, it's not possible. Okay, so we have to ask whether or not this is possible, this question. So for that matter, what happened was that, so this will take us to this text. Originally, the text was composed by Acharya Dignaga. Acharya Dignaga, author of the text, this text which we are studying is Pramanavartika, written by Acharya Dharmakirti. Acharya Dharmakirti. But how this text came into being, we have to go back to Acharya Dignaga. Acharya Dignaga, revered as the father of the Buddhist logic. Revered as the father of Buddhist logic. And his story is that when he was very young, aged like 8, 9, 10, around that age, in those days, like that is 6th century AD. How many years ago? 6th century AD. How many years ago? 1,400 years ago. 1,400 years ago, this young boy, in those days, the school as what we have now. In those days, the schools were known as the Gurukul system. Gurukul system in India, particularly in India, system means, they say, in a village, there's one person who is more learned, who is more respected for common sense, for understanding, and maybe knows a little bit of writing and reading, and in some cases can be highly learned. We never know. So all the villagers, they send their children to his house, and that is the school. There's the school, and oftentimes under the tree, and the teacher sits there, and all the students sit around, and the teacher teaches something. So this boy, young boy, was one of the students there. And one time, the teacher taught a concept. And all the students, the young boys or young girls, the class over and they left. And that very night, this boy, Dignaga, what he was doing was, he was just aged 9 or 10. He stripped off his clothes, and holding a lantern, he was looking for something. And the other boys did not know what this boy is doing. Other boys, they thought that this boy is crazy, has gone crazy. So what he's doing, he stripped off all his clothes, and then with the lantern looking for something. The next day, all these boys, with great excitement, went to the teacher and reported this to the teacher, that this happened last night. And the teacher became so serious. The boys thought that teacher was going to laugh. The teacher became so serious. Then in the class, teacher said, Dignaga, stand up. He stood up and asked, did you do what the other boys are saying? Dignaga said, yes, sir. So the teacher became very cold and the rigid and angry. And all the other boys did not know why the teacher was so unhappy. He did not do anything. He simply stripped off his clothes and with a candle looking for something. So this boy, young boy, and the teacher, two of them are communicating through body language. And all the boys and the girls, they were just stunned what is happening. Teacher said, "Did you do this?" And Acharya Dignaga, the young boy, said, "Yes, sir." And the teacher said, "Get out." And the boy happily left the place. And he became the father of the Buddhist logic. Right? Okay. So then he became highly great learned in philosophy, logic, epistemology. Then with this enormous learning, he was also in hermitage. And he was thinking of composing this text on logic. He composed many small texts. He was trying to put them all together and make the complete text on logic. So what he did was, in those days, the slates, no papers as what we have now. On a piece of slate, he wrote this, the one who has transformed into the reliable guide, motivated by altruism to benefit all sentient beings, the teacher, Sugata, protector to him of prostrations. He wrote it, and then he left for his alms round, daily alms round. Coming back, on the slate, everything was erased. Again he wrote the next day, left for alms round. Coming back, erased 3 times. 4th time, he did not write this. He wrote, "Whosoever erased what I wrote." Whosoever erased what I wrote, if you erased out of fun, what I wrote is not a fun. It's a very important work. Please don't erase this. If you disagree with what I wrote, show up in person. And left. After coming back, there was a person waiting there. So what for? For debate. Which means the person disagreed with what he was writing. So 2 of them started to have debate. And in those days, the bet was very simple. If, say, the person A and person B, person A lost the debate, person A has to be converted to the tradition of person B. Person B lost the debate, has to be converted, along with all the students. This was the bet. In those days, a very common bet. So debated, and who can really debate with this? The father of the logic, the Buddhist logic, Acharya Dignaga, who can debate with him? And the other person lost the debate. And the other person, it so happened that the other person, not only that he was a scholar, he also had some kind of medical power. So out of so much anger and frustration, this person sent fire from his mouth towards Acharya Dignaga. And Acharya Dignaga's robes were burned. And Acharya Dignaga felt so deeply demoralized. Why? I always pray, may I become Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. I was always thinking of benefit of all sentient beings. Now look, even the person right next to me, I cannot benefit this person. So this person, instead of sticking to the bet, the person is doing all these nasty things. So I cannot benefit this person. So he felt so demoralized. And then he just, the slate, he threw this in the sky. The moment the slate would fall, he would just give up the aspiration of working for the sentient beings. And then it so happened that the slate never fell. And he looked up in the sky, he saw Arya Manjushri holding the slate. Okay, so Arya Manjushri then the advice Acharya Dignaga, "My child, why are you demoralized? I'm always there to bless you. I'm always there to guide you. So the text that you're going to write on is going to be like eyes to the millions and billions of the sentient beings in the future. Just continue with this job, this task of composing this text, and my blessings are always with you." So this advice was given. So with this, Okay, if you turn to page 190, so this text from page 186 and precisely page 190, this text is written by Lama Tsongkhapa. It is the text is Noble Pursuit, Revealing One's Personal Realizations. So this, I would highly, highly recommend all of us to read this as often as possible so that you will see a very refined, profound, and vast, refined, and profound roadmap of how we should be proceeding. Okay, so with this, let's see page 190, stanza 15. I'm reading it. You just follow me. In this land of the northern direction, meaning Tibet, among the learned and the not learned, there is unanimous proclamation that the genre of epistemology meaning the study of the epistemology and logic, compendium of valid cognition, which is the Pramana Samuchaya. Pramana Samuchaya was the one, Pramana Samuchaya, the text written by Acharya Dignaga. And the 7 treatises, the 7 treatises on epistemology contain no exposition in the stages of experience along with the journey to enlightenment. Some people say that in this study of the logic, the text written by these great teachers, there's nothing to do with enlightenment. Some people say like this. Even the learned people, they say like this. Yet, the approving advice given by Manjushri to Dignaga, right? Approving advice given by Acharya Manjushri. What advice Acharya Manjushri gave to Acharya Dignaga is that you compose this compendium of valid cognition, this will be an eye to all sentient beings in the future. Is considered valid by them. So those people who say that, study of logic, study of pramana, it's nothing to do with the practice. This is purely for intellectual exercise. On the one hand, these people say like this. On the other hand, they say this teaching of Acharya Manjushri to Acharya Dignaga as valid and as so precious that Acharya Dignaga was instructed by Acharya Manjushri to continue to composition of this text. This will be like an eyes for the sentient beings to achieve enlightenment. So this is valid. So Lama Tsongkhapa says that these two are contradiction. On the one hand, you don't value what is taught there. On the other hand, you value the Acharya Manjushri's advice to Acharya Dignaga as very precious. This is contradictory. Stanza 16. Seeing this to be the greatest contradictory statement, I especially explored and analyzed this subject. Meaning, this text, Acharya Dignaga's text, and then Pramanavartika by Acharya Dharmakirti. I studied them so well. Studied the forward and the reverse reasoning to bring confidence in the reliable authority. Reliable authority or the reliable guide. Reliable guide. For a guide to enlightenment, the content of the supplicatory words of the compendium of valid cognition. Supplicatory words meaning these 2 lines. These 2 lines. Supplicatory words of compendium of valid cognition. Compendium of valid cognition is the text written by Acharya Dignaga. Thus, a profound conviction arose in me, Lama Tsongkhapa, in the infallibility of the Buddha for those seeking complete liberation. Thus, in turn, engendered an in-depth conviction in his teaching of the Buddha, which alone are the gateway to the aspired liberation. This conviction, Lama Tsongkhapa said that he got this conviction that the Buddha's teaching is the gateway to achieve enlightenment. This conviction he got from studying the Pramanavartika, which we are studying now. So this is so precious. Okay, so with this, now the continuation from what I was sharing with you, that Acharya Dignaga, after composing this text, with a lapse of 100 years. Acharya Dignaga, 6th century AD. Then Acharya Dharmakirti, 7th century AD. Acharya Dharmakirti, he went through this text, Pramana Samuchaya, by Acharya Dignaga. He went through seeing just the first 2 lines, the word of supplication. The word of supplication to the Buddha. Just seeing the 2 lines, Acharya Dharmakirti was so fascinated. These 2 lines is not 2 lines. It's a huge, many huge volumes. because he could see what's inside. That's the two lines, on the surface, two lines, but the meanings he could see, chains of meanings. Then he composed a commentary on this text, which is 283 stanzas, which we are studying. 283 stanzas. Then this, to understand the 283 stanzas, Acharya Dharmakirti's text, the chapter 2. To read this, to understand the two lines, we have to understand 283 stanzas. To understand 283 stanzas, we cannot understand it. Again, we need huge volumes of commentaries. Okay, luckily we are finishing in 7 days. Right? Okay. Okay, so this will give us a roadmap tremendous confidence and conviction in the teachings of the Buddha, that this is the path. Okay. Okay. So now, so what is this path, which is so precious, the two lines, which His Holiness the Dalai Lama cherishes so much, which Acharya Dharmakirti, Acharya Dignaga, was being inspired by the Arimanjushri, then Acharya Dharmakirti being so baffled by these two lines and made him to compose the 283 stanzas, the whole chapter on this, Pramanavartika chapter 2, and then the later commentators like Gyaltsab Rinpoche, Khedru Rinpoche, and many teachers to write commentaries on these. So what's all about this? What's this all about? This question. So for that, don't forget all the sophistications happening there. Meanwhile, what is it? Just ask, what is the relevance of that to me, to each one of us? In what way that is relevant to me? That's the point. So for that matter, finally we are seeking what? We have an aspiration to accomplish. Aspiration to get rid of all our suffering, to achieve the maximum happiness or the maximum ease. Now, is it possible to achieve that? This question. Answer is yes. The moment the answer is yes, the next question is how? This question. For that matter, say these two lines will help us to answer how. Okay, so these two lines, we see that it has one, the thesis and the 4 premises. One thesis and 4 premises. The first one, the one who has transformed into the reliable guide. This is the thesis. The one who has transformed into the reliable guide. Which page is it? Page 5. Page 5. One who has transformed into the reliable guide. This is a thesis. How come that he's a reliable guide? Referring to the Buddha. How come this Buddha Shakyamuni is a reliable guide? How come? For the following 4 premises or reasons. What are the reasons? Number 1, motivated by altruism to benefit sentient beings. Number 1. Number 2, the teacher. Number 3, Sugata. Number 4, the protector. These 4 are the reasons. And how reasons? These are all we're going to study in great detail. Okay. So the point is that, let's say that I'm the one, I'm seeking infinite happiness. I want to get rid of all my fears. Okay, how many of you aspire that? How many of you aspire the fearlessness and the infinite happiness? Raise your hands. Oh yeah, the boys or the girls? Huh? Everyone. Okay, the Buddhists or non-Buddhists? Everyone. The Singaporeans, Malaysians, Indians, Australians, Americans, and from Tibetans, everyone. We are all, no matter what religion that you're following, no matter what your gender, no matter what ethnicity, no matter what nationality, we all seek this aspiration. We all have this aspiration to get rid of all the suffering and to get rid of, to have the maximum happiness. If this is who we are, can we achieve that? Can we materialize? Can we accomplish that aspiration? This is the question. For that, not easy to say yes. If yes, in the history of humanity, was there anybody who accomplished that? Who we, not just through belief, through reasoning, through rationality, we could see that, yes, this person accomplished that aspiration. Is there anybody in this world, in the history of humanity? So, we see that, for this, we see that it can be understood in two ways. Okay, in the history of humanity, there were so many teachers. Once, 2,500 years ago, right? 2,500 years. Okay, let's say that none of us is a Buddhist. None of us don't know who the Buddha is. We start from a clean slate. Don't say that I'm a Buddhist, so therefore the Buddha, this Prince Siddhartha, he's the proper one. No. You can think of any teacher. You can think of any teacher rationally. You should be able to go to this conclusion. Yes, he or she is the one who went through this path and accomplished the aspiration which I have. That is, to get rid of all my sufferings and to have the maximum happiness. He or she is the one who has this experience. So therefore, he or she is my reliable guide. Reliable guide. Okay. So for that matter, this can be understood in two ways. So, page 190, we read that already. It says, 16, stanza 16, line 16, page 190, stanza 16, line 3. It says, I studied the forward and reverse reasoning to bring confidence in the reliable authority, reliable guide. Reliable guide. Reliable guide, somebody who is a guide, very reliable, who can take me to this state of ultimate happiness, of total fearlessness and infinite happiness. Reliable guide. So there are two things. I study the forward reasoning and the reverse reasoning. Forward reasoning and the reverse reasoning. You're getting it? Okay, so these 7 days, we're going to study the forward reasoning. And the next year, we'll study the reverse reasoning. You're getting it? So look, it's just in one line, right? One line, and we have to split into 2 years. Forward reasoning, today, these 7 days, and the reverse reasoning, next year. Right? Okay. So what is forward reasoning? What is reverse reasoning? This is the question. Say, you are so frustrated, so much of life challenges. We see the sickness, aging, death, tension, and is there any from Europe? Okay, Australia, what is the situation like? I don't know. In Tibet, this is what is bound to happen. And in the America, I'm not too sure. In Malaysia, Singapore, I'm not too sure. In the Scandinavian countries, oftentimes this is happening. You don't have to do anything to feel so low is very easy. To feel so low, demoralized, very easy. Winter, right? Wet. And daytime very short. And 3 o'clock already dark. And very gloomy, cold. And the foggy. What's the mental state? Any experience? Okay, Singaporeans, you have experience? No experience. Or Malaysians? Singaporeans, some of you have experience. Malaysians, you have their experience? Okay, raise hands, those who have that experience. But the day is short, and then 3 p.m., 4 p.m., already becoming dark, gloomy, cold, wet, foggy, and the mind also goes down. So gloomy, so heavy, hollow, heavy. Okay, how many have that experience? Raise hands. How many of you have no experience of that? That's funny. Raise hands. Okay, if you don't have experience, go to Scandinavian countries once. at least once go to Scandinavian countries in the winter. In the winter, just go there once, feel that. So this will tell us when you feel so heavy and but drowned. So there, then you will see what is the pain like. So with this pain, is there a way out? This is the question. And people who go through depression, they have this pain. This pain, people who go through depression, this pain is so severe. So at times, say, they'll be so happy if you hear that somebody can help you get out of this pain. Even to hear that is so healing for them. Okay, so let's say this is a situation where we are so keen to get out of samsara, where we are so keen to get rid of these problems. And samsara is one thing, but even to look at our day-to-day life, we see that superficially seems flowery, seems nice. Deep inside, you talk to anybody, unless somebody is very, very positive and a practitioner, this person, the discussion is going to be very different. Otherwise, no matter who the other person is, rich, powerful, young, whatever, you talk to a person, first, niceties, exchange of niceties. Then, for 10 minutes, then we'll see that the problems coming out, problems surfacing. And everyone has the same problem, acute problem. And many more of these problems are waiting for us, many more. So, reflecting on these points, then we really think deeply as to whether or not there's a path to get away from this, to get out of this problem altogether, this question. So for this, imagine that we are in this stage. For example, with the practice, those of you who are familiar with the practice of the Lamrim, the first and the second. The first one is quite the agonizing to reflect on, the path of the small scope person. Then the path of the middle scope person, that is even more agonizing, and it can be so heavy, and yet that heaviness and the heaviness that we feel because of the loss of near and dear ones, the mundane pain is very different. That heaviness has a tremendous confidence. The mundane heaviness of losing near and dear ones and your illness and so forth, with the pain, the confidence goes down. For the other, confidence builds up. This is the difference. So with this, then you are very confident, look for a way out. Then, let's say, Acharya Dignaga comes. Then Acharya Dignaga tells us that, okay, in the history of the humanity, there was once a young prince, Prince Siddhartha, and he was exactly going through the state of mind that you are going through now. Okay, so me and this prince are thinking we're much more the same? Yes. From there, from how this stanza begins, the one who has transformed into the reliable guide, this is the main thesis. So for the premise, therefore, the forward order, and then the reverse order. Forward order is the teacher, motivated by altruism to benefit all sentient beings. Number one. Number two, the teacher. Number three, Sugata. Number four, protector. So this is a forward order. Beginning from the motivation, altruistic motivation to benefit all sentient beings, then the teacher, then the Sugata, then the protector. This is the forward reasoning. First we establish the altruistic intention to benefit all sentient beings, followed by establishing the teacher, followed by establishing the Sugata, followed by establishing the protector. This is the forward reasoning, forward with respect to the stanza written by Acharya Dignaga. Forward reasoning with respect to the stanza written by Acharya Dignaga. The second one is reverse order, the reverse reasoning. Reverse reasoning means first establish the protector, then establish the Sugata, then establish the teacher, then establish the altruistic intention, the motivation of the altruistic intention to benefit all sentient beings. This is a reverse reasoning. Reverse reasoning, on that basis, then establish the reliable guide. Right? Establishing the 4 premises in the proper sequence, or the forward sequence, or the proper sequence, the way indicated by Acharya Dignaga in the text. First, the motivation of altruism. Number 2 is the teacher. Number 3 is the Sugata. Number 4, the protector. So you establish these 4 the premises in this order, and then conclude. Then they deduce the thesis, which is that the Buddha Shakyamuni is the reliable guide. And the reverse order is first establish the 4 theses in the reverse way. For not thesis, 4 premises in the reverse way. How? First establish the protector, then Sugata, then teacher, then the motivation of altruism to benefit all sentient beings. So once you establish these 4 in the reverse order, on that basis, then you deduce Buddha Shakyamuni as the reliable guide. Okay, reliable guide for what? Guide means to take you somewhere, to guide you somewhere. Where? What is that destination? To say to guide you somewhere, the destination should be there. What is the destination? Hey, how many you want Buddha Shakyamuni to be a guide? Raise your hands. Wonderful, I'm so happy. Okay, what for? What kind of guide do you want? Where do you want to go? Where do you want to go? Okay, if you could remember what we discussed thus far, how we started, right? Tell me. What are we seeking? This is how we started, right? This is how we started. Don't forget that. So we should be very realistic. All what we study there must have some relevance to what you seek, what you are seeking. What is that thing you are seeking? Fearlessness and the infinite happiness, infinite ease. Fearlessness and the infinite ease. This is in a vernacular language. Fearlessness, in the technical sense, the fearlessness is nirvana, where you have no fear of the afflictions. Fearlessness is the nirvana. And the infinite happiness is the full enlightenment, Buddhahood. Infinite happiness is the Buddhahood. So in other words, what you are seeking is nirvana and Buddhahood. This is what we are seeking. In a vernacular language, what we are seeking is fearlessness and infinite happiness. And who's that? Buddhist or non-Buddhist? Everyone. So we put it in a technical words, everyone is seeking nirvana and Buddhahood. Yeah. So in a vernacular language, everybody is seeking fearlessness and infinite happiness. And in a technical sense, everybody is seeking nirvana and Buddhahood. It's a different language. Okay, so we need somebody to guide the air. And how many of you need guide to go to Dharamsala first time? Huh? We all need guide, even to go to Dharamsala. Right? Whereas the Buddhahood, Nirvana is very far away. No doubt we need the best of the guide. And the best of the guide must be analyzed well. So therefore, seeking empowerment is not easy. Right? Seeking empowerment, you are committing yourself to something very, very, very serious. Okay, so if you know this, then you will get a broad picture and nothing can shake your faith in the Buddha's teachings. In other words, it's not a matter about the faith in the Buddha, it's about the faith in yourself. Faith in what you're doing. Faith in what you're doing. Faith in the virtue that you're doing. The faith in the wisdom that you're doing. The faith in compassion that you're doing. It will not shake. Otherwise, some people, what they do is, for example, okay, they say they meet with a teacher And then they meet with the dharma, right? Okay, now I'm into dharma. And then even then you get a mala. Even the mala is a big mala, right? Very big mala, too, very prominent, right? And around like this, or around the hand full of malas, 3-4 malas together to say that now I've become a Buddhist, right? And even the clothes, they become very dirty. Earlier, very presentable, nice. And now very dirty, that I've become Buddhist. Okay, so these are, then they stay, they study, they recite mantra. Day is nice, recite mantras, right? What are you doing? Oh, I'm practicing, right? Don't disturb me in my practice. Oh, right, the mantras. And you hardly have any food. Okay, Maggi is fine. Maggi, right? Cup noodle. Cup noodle is fine. I don't need anything else. Fine. I just right, 1 month, and then after that, you are the same person, same short-tempered person, right? And then the temptations, anger, all this is just the same, and there's no change. And then you see something wrong there. Somebody, say, within Buddhism, you see some kind of conflicts here, there. What is this Buddhism? I do not believe that Buddhism is like this. Quit. Which means that you don't believe in who you are. You don't know what you're doing. You have no conviction what you're doing. So the point is that, let us not forget this. Be kind to yourself, number 1. Number 2, be wisely kind to yourself. Don't forget these 2 things. Finally, what we are studying is not for Buddhism. Buddhism is for you. What we are studying is not for, we are not for what we are studying. What we are studying is for you. What we are practicing is for you, not you for what you are practicing. So therefore, you are not for Buddhism. Buddhism is for you. So therefore, simply because you say oh, I like it. No, this should not be the attitude. Attitude, what is the relevance of the Buddha's teachings to my life? Not about this person, this tradition, that tradition. What's the relevance of Buddha's teachings to my life? This is the point. So, with the Buddha's teachings and me, between these two, there can be teachers, there can be centers related. If you see some complication in the centers, it's fine. But why should your happiness be sacrificed? Why should your aspiration for fearlessness be sacrificed? Why should your noble aspirations be sacrificed? Even if you see something wrong there. So this study will help us to become so confident no matter what is happening around. What is happening around, you see that this is my roadmap. I got it from the Acharya Dharmakirti text, Pramanavartika, which was initially said by Acharya Dignaga in these 2 lines. This is so precious. Okay, so with this, then you learn about, okay, so who is that person in this life who can be the reliable guide to my path? Then you listen to Acharya Dignaga. So Acharya Dignaga said in 2 ways. One, he said, what do you want? I have so much a problem. I want to get rid of all these problems. In other words, you are seeking fearlessness. What is fearlessness in technical terms? Nirvana. And what you're also seeking is infinite happiness. That in technical terms is full Buddhahood. And this is what you're seeking. But do you have it now? I don't have it. Okay, never mind. Prince Siddhartha, he also did not have it. Prince Siddhartha and you, what you were seeking is just the same. But he's now so successful. Look at this image here. This image is just a representation of that being. Representation of that being who perfected in that state. Now he's guiding millions and trillions and infinite number of beings towards what they are seeking, the goal of fearlessness and the goal of infinite happiness. How come that he succeeded? How come that he succeeded? How did he succeed in this? Okay, we have to study his biography, right? Don't just believe, okay, I surrender. No. So how we are taking usually, how we are so keen on the what? Empowerments, and particularly this word I learned from Singaporeans, HYT. Right? I learned from Singapore. Singapore, they say HYT. What is HYT? Highest Yoga Tantra. This is what I learned from Singaporeans, right? So what I'm saying is that, say, like surrendering, not knowing what is this path, in what way you can benefit me, in what way the Buddha can benefit me, in what way the HYT can benefit me. Without knowing all these things, you surrender. This will make your faith very shakeable. It can shake your faith very easily. It's very shaky. Okay, so for that matter, don't just surrender. Study first. What did this Prince Siddhartha do then? What did he do? What is the biography? Today, it has become like a Buddha, that his statues are being placed there as a reminder for us to remember his qualities. How did he become one like that? So we studied the biography. Studying the biography, we see that first, what he went through and what we are going through now is the same. So there, as a young prince, he saw sickness, aging, death. The very common story of the Buddha, sickness, aging, and death. And more than that, being in a palace. So that's a very simplistic story, that he saw the four signs, sickness, aging. No, he did not really have to go out, to be very honest. So these are like stories to make people understand very easily. He did not have to go out. He could see inside the palace. Inside the palace, all these injustices happening. How in the palace, there were so many, like his father, Shuddhodhan, King Shuddhodhan, and his brothers. Brothers have their own children, the sons. And how the sons, they are or daughters also, not only the sons or daughters, both, how they misbehave with all the people around, bullying others. He could see that. And how the ministers, they bully how the royal families, they bully the commoners. He could see all these things, unfair, injustices going. He could see them so clearly. So the story tells us that, this Prince Siddhartha, already aged what? 27, 28. And on the one hand, he said to this Prince Siddhartha is said to be so brilliant, extremely brilliant, very compassionate, and on the other hand, so naive, not knowing what the world is, at the age of 28. Today, at the age of 7, 8, they all know the what? Gadgets. So sharp, so brilliant. Siddhartha, this story is just a very naive story to convey the message to the people in a very easy way. The reality is very different. Sickness, aging, death is just a story that he saw. Only when he went out, he saw these things. No, sickness, aging happening inside the palace also, not only outside. More than that, injustices. Particularly, Buddha Shakyamuni was against the injustices, inequality. He could see all these things. So, he was driven with what? What's the first line? The one who has transformed into reliable. This is a thesis. So thesis has to be proven with the premises. What is the first premise? Forward order. Motivated by altruism to benefit all sentient beings. Compassion. He was driven with a very powerful, great compassion. Seeing the suffering of the beings, inside, outside the palace. And then seeing that this suffering cannot possibly be, how to get rid of the suffering, he was reflecting. He was pondering on this, how to get rid of this suffering. So he was driven, initially, the driving force was the motivation to benefit the sentient beings. This is what drove him into this path. Okay, so what he did, now the biography of the Buddha, what he did. Because of seeing the enormity of suffering and because of feeling the very intense compassion to benefit beings, what did he do? What did he do? He left the palace. He left the palace in order for what? To look for answers to these questions. How to resolve the suffering of sentient beings, to look for answer. He went in search of the answers. Don't forget it. So the initial driving force was the motivation to benefit all sentient beings. So this made him to leave the palace to look for the answers. So how did he go to look for the answers? The first, he met his first teacher, Acharya Kalam. He met his first teacher, Acharya Kalam. So this teacher is said to have reached the samadhi, meditative concentration level, very high, which is known as desire realm, form realm, formless realm. 3 realms are there, samsara, 3 realms are there. And the formless, which is the 3rd level. 3rd level, it is further divided into 4. Infinite space, infinite consciousness, vacuity, and the peak of existence. 4. What are the 4? The third realm, formless realm, is divided into 4. What are they? Infinite space, infinite consciousness, vacuity, or some people translate it as emptiness. Better would be vacuity, or some people translate it as nothingness. Better is vacuity. Vacuity, peak of existence, or peak of samsara. Okay, infinite space, infinite consciousness, vacuity, and a peak of existence, or peak of samsara. 4. Also 4, the first teacher reached this meditative concentration level of the vacuity realm, the realm of the vacuity. Very high level meditative concentration. So, Prince Siddhartha, he was trained under him, and very soon he reached the same level of the meditative concentration as his teacher. Then Prince Siddhartha asked for more teachings. And the teacher said, you already reached the same level as me, I have nothing more to offer. And the Prince Siddhartha again went in search of, because he saw that this is not the solution to the problems. Still, I'm yet to, I don't have the solution. So this is not the solution. So went in search of the next teacher. So the second teacher was Acharya Udreka. Acharya Udreka, Udraka, Udreka. So this teacher, the samadhi level was the peak of existence, peak of samsara, the highest level of the meditative concentration, samadhi. So this morning what we learned was that finally all the mental defilements have to be gotten rid of by the wisdom. And the wisdom should have 2 qualities. What are 2 qualities? This morning we said something. Should be very bright and should be steady. The 2 things should be there. So these 2 teachers, who are they? Acharya Acharya Kalam and Acharya Udreka. Acharya Acharya Kalam. Alara, Alarakalam. A-L-A, Allah, Ra, R-A, Alara, Kalam, K-A-L-A-M, Alara Kalam. And second teacher is teacher Acharya Udreka, U-D-R-A-K-A, Udreka. Okay, so these 2 teachers of the wisdom, which requires 2 qualities, 2 attributes. One is the brightness, and the other one is steadiness. Of the 2, these 2 teachers, they were working on the steadiness, not for the brightness. So the steadiness is there, the brightness is not there. So the darkness of the ignorance cannot be removed. So therefore, the suffering is still there, the cause of suffering is still there. Only the steadiness is built. So the second teacher, Acharya Udreka, the Prince Siddhartha received teachings from him. Again, he reached the same level. And Prince Siddhartha asked for more teachings. Then the Acharya Udreka said that you have now reached the ultimate. You have reached the ultimate. There's nothing more to learn. You've already reached the ultimate. And no need for you to go elsewhere. Now, all my teachers are all my students are your students also. You give teachings to them. Then this Prince Siddhartha, again with due respect to the teacher, said that I'm looking for a solution to all the problems. Still, I'm here to find this solution. So, again he went into such a path, and for 6 years, he went in the solitude, 6 years of the solitude practice, and with the extreme asceticism, and finally, he found the path. What is the path? The wisdom. The wisdom which is marked with two qualities, the brightness and the steadiness. He found that. So, tell me, practically speaking, tell me, in what way, if you want to go to Dharamsala for an audience with His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and you don't know how to go about, and there's somebody, for example, let's say here, Brother Kesila is there, he knows how to go there so well, then I inform you, there's Brother Kesila there, he knows exactly how to go there, and you want to go there. What's your answer? Hey, you want to go there? Sure. Yes. So you know how to go there? I don't know. Oh, there's so Brother Kesila's there. He knows so precisely. He's very confident. I'm very confident with him. So what will you do? Ask him. So his job is to guide you. His job is to guide you. Okay, now, for that matter, how to guide you? How will he guide you? Didn't you? Just give you a map? Oh, Dharamsala map. Here, take this. Huh? Okay, so he will teach you. He will teach you. So he will teach you means you should become the teacher. He should become the teacher. Right? So after going through these, all these ways, he was looking for the Prince Siddhartha, looking for something which he can teach the sentient beings, which he can teach. In order to teach, he should become the teacher. So the second one is, with this motivation of altruism, then he is looking for means that he is to teach the sentient beings. Then number two is what? Number two, teacher. Teacher is to teach the path which can take the beings from the state of suffering to the ultimate fearlessness and the infinite happiness. That is a teacher. Okay. To teach something, first you have to experiment it yourself. Right? For example, do you know that if you are, some of you from medical, once the ulcer, the gastric, for the gastric problem, some antibiotics were discovered, and the person had to prove that this medicine will help the people who were suffering from having gastric problems. So for that, he has to prove that. How do you prove that? First, he consumed the bacteria to make him suffer, to have the gastric problem. He consumed that, and he had a severe gastric problem. Then he started to take the antibiotics, which he invented. He took them, and the problem is solved. So likewise, Prince Siddhartha, when he found this path, which he was to teach the sentient beings, first he had to experiment it on himself. How? How to experiment that? Huh? How to experiment it? Tell me. How to experiment the wisdom of emptiness to see whether it works or not? How do you experiment it? By practicing it, right? By study, reflecting, and meditating. Through these three means, he practiced it through study, reflection, meditation himself to see if this wisdom works. This teacher, what he's to teach is the wisdom of emptiness. This wisdom of emptiness, to teach first, he has to experiment it himself. He experimented this on himself, then he realized that all the sufferings, okay, this is what is very important. All the sufferings, what is the immediate cause of suffering? Contaminated karmas. What are the immediate cause of contaminated karmas? Afflictions. What are the immediate cause of afflictions? Wow, okay. Many of you from the knowledge masters, because I can see that. Okay, so where is that? It is somewhere. Nagarjuna's stanza. Okay, page 111. Page 111. Page 111, stanza 5. Page 111, stanza 5. How fears of samsara, how the miseries of samsara come into being. For that we have to learn the 5 points. You have to learn the 5 points, which are well indicated there in the stanza. A ceasing of actions or karmas and afflictions leads to nirvana. What's the opposite of nirvana? Samsara. Samsara means suffering. Samsara means suffering. Okay, I want somebody to volunteer to remind me, to explain what exactly is samsara. Okay, there, Alex is going to remind me. Okay. Anybody else, if Alex forgets? Okay, here, Pavanila. So we have 2 of them to remind us. Remind us what? Alex? Okay, what exactly is samsara, right? Samsara. We talk about samsara. Something bad happens in samsara. Something bad happens in samsara. This is what you say, right? What exactly is samsara? Sickness is samsara, is fine, right? But we need to really identify the exact meaning of samsara. This is so important. Okay, so what we have here, ceasing of actions meaning karmas, and afflictions leads to nirvana. Nirvana is explicitly taught, and implicitly the opposite of nirvana is taught. What's the opposite of nirvana? Samsara. So samsara is the result. So this samsara comes into being by the actions, contaminated actions, ceasing, stopping the contaminated actions. So point number 2 is contaminated actions, contaminated karmas, point number 2. And these contaminated karmas arise from the afflictions, ceasing of actions and afflictions. So the contaminated karmas are given rise to by the afflictions. Then the actions and afflictions arise from conceptual thought. Number 3, conceptual thought is the inappropriate attention. I'm going to explain each one of them. Inappropriate attention. Then the next, this arises, conceptual thought or the inappropriate attention arises from mental elaboration. Elaboration, specifically elaboration of self-grasping ignorance. Elaboration of self-grasping ignorance. Okay, how many points? 5. What's the first one? Samsara. What's the second one? Contaminated karmas. What is the next? Afflictions. What is next? Inappropriate attention. What is next? Self-grasp. Elaboration of self-grasping ignorance. You can simply say self-grasping ignorance, or in this context, you can say the elaboration of self-grasping ignorance. 5 points. Of the 5, the first one is the resultant state, suffering, the resultant state. The first one, suffering. Then the suffering is caused by the following 4 points. Contaminated karmas, which in turn is created by the afflictions, which in turn is created by the inappropriate attention, and finally the self-grasping ignorance. Okay, so this we should, I must explain this. Okay, okay, we will do that. Okay, let's say that, okay, many of the participants here, you already know this, but there are many who are first-timer. I like to give this. This is extremely important the foundation of the Buddhism, whether it's Theravada Buddhism, Chinese Buddhism, Tibetan Buddhism, all this is the foundation. If you don't know this, finish. You don't know any tradition. Okay, so let's say For that matter, we have to know this. Let's say that you are sleeping in Singapore, you are sleeping in Tibet, you are sleeping in Australia, and you are sleeping in Malaysia, not in the Chen Shui Temple, in your own respective place, and you dream of attending a class in Chen Shui Temple, right? And then the person who is giving the teaching raise something, right? And you see this as a, oh, there's a mobile there. Mobile. Okay, is somebody's a mobile? Somebody's a mobile? Mobile? Yes, yes. Okay, thank you. Okay, so what happens is that in your dream, the person who is giving teaching raise this. Oh, there's a mobile there. Okay, this is a dream mobile or real mobile? You are dreaming. So what is this? Dream mobile, real mobile? Dream mobile. But in the dream, you see this as a dream mobile or real mobile? Real mobile. So is this ignorance or this valid mind? Ignorance. So we have to go the reverse now. Reverse, ignorance, inappropriate attention, afflictions, contaminant karmas, and suffering. Okay, tell me, the reverse order. What is the reverse order? Ignorance, inappropriate attention, afflictions, contaminant karmas, and samsara or suffering. So reverse order. You getting it? Okay, first everything how it started was that you are dreaming. In the dream, the person who is giving the teaching shows you a mobile. So while this is a dream mobile, you see this as a real mobile. This is ignorance. And then you look at it very closely. Oh, it's not just a mobile, it's an iPhone X. Right? You exaggerate the quality. You exaggerate the quality of this, inappropriate exaggeration. Inappropriate attention. Inappropriate attention is exaggerating the characteristic of the object. Ignorance is misconceiving the reality of the object. Then the inappropriate attention is exaggerating the quality of the object. Exaggerating the quality or the characteristic of the object. Number 2. The first one is ignorance is exaggerating the object itself. Exaggerating the object. Then number 2 is exaggerating the quality of the object. Oh, this iPhone, not only iPhone, not only phone. It is iPhone X. Then what happens? Then the desire arises. Okay, Geshe, he's a very simple person. He doesn't like iPhone X. So I can give my simple phone and we can exchange. Geshe, can I exchange mobile? So that's coming out of your desire. So the desire works. Mentally, the desire works. Then what happens? The next person, the person who's sitting next to you says, no, I said it first. I said it when they came to this Chen Shui yesterday. I said it to him already. Right? And then anger arises. Anger is a purely mental thinking. Anger is a purely mental thinking. Attachment to the mobile is purely mental thinking. Anger towards the other person also purely mental thinking. So mental upsurge of the emotion. So this is affliction. So this affliction will make you to act. Act is action, karma. So verbally you say, Geshe, can we exchange mobiles? Physically, you start fighting with your competitor. You fight with a competitor. So this is action. So with action, what happens? Then the police comes. Police takes you to the prison. A prison is not a nice place to stay. This is the samsara. Okay, tell me. Then your poor mother comes. You went to Chensui for a retreat, Pramanavartika. Why did you end up in misery? Why did you end up in prison? Okay, now the forward order. Reverse order is done, now forward order. Forward order, your mother comes. Why you end up in prison? You went to supposed to be going there for spirituality. Now you end up, why in prison? Why? You will say, because I have a fight with the friend. Fight, karma. Why did you fight? Because I become so angry with him. Because of my attachment to the mobile. That is the affliction. Why do you have the attachment to the mobile? No, it's not just ordinary mobile. It's iPhone X. This is inappropriate attention. Actually, this is not an iPhone X, right? Of course, if not, this is not a mobile. This is a real mobile, right? And the mother says, no, it's not a real mobile, right? And your mother in the bed, she actually wakes you up, right? Oh, this is not a real mobile. It's just a dream mobile. Okay, tell me, how you ended up in misery? How you ended up in the prison? Because of the contaminated karma of fighting. Why did you end up in fighting? Because of the anger towards the other person, attachment to the mobile. Why do you have this attachment to the mobile? Because of the inappropriate, the exaggeration of the quality of the mobile to be iPhone X. And why do they have that exaggeration happening? The foundation is to see the dream mobile as real mobile. This is the starting point. The original trigger of all the misery is the ignorance. Okay, now with this, if you really don't want to end up in this prison, you have to get rid of the initial trigger. What is the final trigger to this, you end up in the prison? What is the final trigger? Which ignorance? Ignorance see the dream mobile as real mobile. This is ignorance. Okay, with this in mind, now, if you really want to be freed from the prison, what should you do? You should get rid of the ignorance. How to get rid of the ignorance? How to get rid of the ignorance is the question. How to get rid of the ignorance? Okay, how to get rid of this, seeing the dream mobile as a real mobile, this ignorance, how to get rid of this is wake up, right? So now how to get this ignorance is to see the reality as it is. The wisdom. Ignorance is like darkness. In dark, we don't see the reality. In dark, we don't see the reality. With the ignorance, we don't see the reality. So, to eradicate the darkness, it is only through introducing the light. To eradicate the darkness of ignorance, it is only through introducing the light of the wisdom. We have to introduce light of the wisdom. Okay, so this wisdom to wake us up from the sleep of ignorance. The wisdom to see everything is like a dream, this wisdom. So this Prince Siddhartha finally discovered that this wisdom to see everything is like a dream. This is something which I have to teach all the sentient beings, the teacher. So for that, he first has to experiment it on himself, to see if it works. So how did he experiment this? He meditated on this to see everything like a dream. The emptiness of objective existence, to see everything like a dream. He meditated on this for how many years? 6 years. 6 years to experiment if it works. He experimented this, then what happens? Okay, now tell me. This wisdom, the very bright and the steady wisdom, so this wisdom will counteract what? Ignorance. So ignorance is exterminated. When the ignorance is exterminated, what happens? When the ignorance stops, the inappropriate attention stops. When the inappropriate attention stops, afflictions stop. When the afflictions stop, contaminated karma stop. When the contaminated karma stop, samsara stops. Right? All the fears of your life stop. All the fears of life stop. Okay. So, what is the opposite of the fear? What is the opposite of fears? Fearlessness, peace, right? So the four seals, what are the four seals? Everything is impermanent, everything is contaminated, no, everything is suffering nature. Huh? Okay, what are the four seals? Everything is impermanent. Okay, you don't agree with me. I said everything is impermanent. Not everything. All composite things are impermanent. So some people, they make Buddhism very simple. Oh, in Buddhism, everything is impermanent. Everything is suffering. This is not true. Only composite phenomena are impermanent. Only contaminated things are suffering nature. Not everything is suffering nature. Oh, Buddhism, everything is talking about Buddhism, everything is suffering. Right? This is too simplistic. This is not real understanding. This is the naivety of the individual's understanding of Buddhism. So all composite things are impermanent. All contaminated things are suffering nature. Everything is of nature of emptiness and selflessness. Number 4, transcending sorrow is absolute peace. You're getting it? Transcending sorrow is absolute peace. So this Prince Siddhartha, he was experimenting this wisdom on himself to see if it works. And he found that it worked perfectly well. How? By instilling the wisdom of emptiness, ignorance stops. As the ignorance stops, what stops? Inappropriate attention stops. Then affliction stops. Then contaminated karma stops. Then samsara, fear, anxiety, everything stops. What's the opposite of samsara? What is the opposite of fear? Nirvana. What is the opposite of fear? In a vernacular language. Peace, absolute peace. That is the 4th seal. Transcending sorrow is absolute peace. So this he experienced. Prince Siddhartha, he experienced that the absolute peace. That is the Sugata. That is the Sugata. Sugata meaning absolute blissful peace. Absolute peace, absolute bliss of the peace. This is what he experienced, Sugata. He experienced this Sugata. Okay, who aspires to seek Sugata? Who aspires to seek the absolute peace? Who aspires? The boys or the girls? Everybody. Young ones or old ones? Malaysians, Singaporeans, who? Everybody seeks the Sugatahood. So he experienced this Sugata. He experienced the Sugatahood, the state of the total peace. Once he experiences this Sugata, the total peace, then he became very confident. Now, okay, I found a path, I experimented it, and I've achieved the goal which everybody sees. So what did he do? He went out to protect the beings by giving the teachings. To protect the beings. This made him to become the teacher. Okay, this is the forward order of establishing the 4 premises in order to, if this is how somebody went through, would you be confident that now, oh, he or she is my reliable guide? Do you see that person as a reliable guide for you? This is the best way to see somebody as a reliable guide. Okay, so this is the summary of what we're going to do for these 7 days. Okay. Then during the group discussion, they try to, instead of going to more questions, what I would suggest you first try to recapitulate what is being discussed, what is the thesis, what are the 4 premises, what is the forward, what is the reverse order, and then what is the life story of the Buddha related to these 2 lines, right? And how the suffering comes into being, how the suffering can be stopped, and what is the meaning of each of these words, altruism, how did he see what made him to have this altruism, then how this altruism drove him to become the teacher what, and Sugata, what is Sugata, and then what is it, protector. So these, they try to understand explain to each other these things. Once you get this fully, then you can go into deeper questions. Okay, we'll stop here. Deyata Om Gati Gati Paragati Parasamgati Bodhiswatyata Om Gati Gati Paragati Parasamgati Bodhiswatyata Om Gati Gati Paragati Parasamgati Bodhiswaha. Okay, 3 prostrations.